The Tuesday, January 16th, 2024 meeting of the Eden Prairie City Council is now called to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I want to read an open podium invitation. Open podium is an opportunity for Eden Prairie residents to address the City Council on issues related to Eden Prairie City government prior to each council meeting. These council meetings typically occur the first and third Tuesday of each month across the year, not always during the summer. These open podiums are from 6:30 to 6:55 here in the council chamber. If you wish to speak at open podium, please do contact the city manager's office at 952-949-8412 by noon of the meeting date with your name, your phone number, and subject matter so we can be better prepared for you. Open podium is not recorded or televised. If you have questions about open podium, please do contact the city manager's office. Tonight, under proclamations and presentations, we do have one proclamation honoring Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and I will read that. Mr. Getchell, is there anything else to say about that? No. Proclamation, City of Eden Prairie, Hennepin County, Minnesota. Whereas the City of Eden Prairie's City Council and Human Rights and Diversity Commission sponsors the Black History Month Words in Action contest and the Human Rights Award program, recognizing those who work to create an inclusive community spirit through their actions, activities, and programs. And whereas the City of Eden Prairie recognizes that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. had a dream and dedicated his life to helping freedom exist for all people through his commitment to human rights and his nonviolent philosophy. And whereas the City of Eden Prairie reaffirms its commitment to fostering diversity in our community through the Eden Prairie Manifesto, now therefore be it resolved that the City of Eden Prairie hereby proclaims 2000, it says 23, but I believe it's 24. I'm editing on the go.
Thank you.
2024, how the years do fly by, as a year to celebrate human rights and diversity, and asks all residents to continue their commitment and concern for equal rights for all persons, to dedicate themselves to helping those who do not yet share in that freedom, and to join the City of Eden Prairie in recognizing and celebrating Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream. Ronald A. Case, Mayor, City of Eden Prairie, and the City Council. All right. Approval of agenda and other items. Council, are there any additions to the agenda this evening? Okay, hearing none, would any one of you please make a motion?
Move to approve the agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed. All right. Minutes. Any part or lines within the minutes that you wish to question or edit? If not, if there could be a motion for both the workshop held on January 2nd and the City Council meeting held on January 2nd.
Move to approve the following City Council minutes. City Council workshop held Tuesday, January 2nd, 2024, and City Council meeting held Tuesday, January 2nd, 2024.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed. All right, moving ahead to the consent calendar. And again, for sometimes we have students watching or sometimes in attendance, but for anyone that might not know much about the consent calendar, it's where we put a lot of items that don't need specific discussion, although I do allow the council to question or pull any of these items if you wish. Otherwise, we clump them together all in one large motion. So, council, any items on the consent calendar you wish to pull for further discussion? If not, is there a motion to approve items A through J on the consent calendar?
I move approval of items A through J on the consent calendar.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed. Mr. Getchell, we have 2 public hearings this evening. Al Devron is our first.
We do, Mayor, thank you. Yes, our first public hearing is for a land use application. This is for the building that is at 7075 Flying Cloud Drive, which will hopefully soon be occupied by Eldevron, med tech company out of Fargo, North Dakota. People may know this property formerly as in the Golden Triangle area as the Blue Stem building or the Best Buy building even before that. So it's a rather prominent office building in our Golden Triangle on a 23-acre piece of property. There is a 345,000 square foot building where the applicant is proposing to add approximately 95,000 square feet to the 2-story building. And as I mentioned, occupy that with approximately 500 new jobs in Eden Prairie. And what's before you tonight then is the application for that planned unit development district review with waivers for that project, where the uses on site will be office, manufacturing, warehouse, and mechanical. You will see a presentation, I believe, that will show the additions to the building, the updates and improvements that are being done to the building and the site. So I believe the applicant is here to provide a presentation on their plans for the building. We will then hold a public hearing, and as the council knows, we have 2 readings that we would need to approve, but we're recommending this evening a first reading of approval with the waivers that will be detailed with the application tonight.
Great. Please come forward, proponent, name and address and who you represent.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is Lance Moneylaws. I'm the Director of Industrial Project Management for Eldevron in Fargo, North Dakota. Eldevron is a leader in biological sciences. We're a contract development manufacturing company providing services for scientists around the world with essential components to accelerate research and groundbreaking science and breakthrough discoveries.
I can advance
Sarah,
it.
can you, yeah.
There we go. Thank you. Eden Prairie offers Eldevron many, many benefits. Access to educational institutions, labor market, convenience to the Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport, centralized location between our locations in Madison, Fargo, and Lincoln. The facility in Eden Prairie provides Eldevron a location to build state-of-the-art modular clean rooms, laboratory, warehouse, administrative spaces. With that, I will hand off to our architect, Jackie Peck, BWBR, St. Paul.
All right. Yep, I am Jackie Peck with BWBR, architect and project manager for this site. So 7075 Flying Cloud Drive, as you mentioned, it's the Blue Stem Super Value building. It has been vacant for a couple years, so we're excited to get in there and start developing this property. It's an existing 345,000 square foot building, 2 stories on a property that is zoned I2. So the use of the building that we're proposing does meet that criteria of the I2 zone. And as mentioned, we are proposing a 96,000 square foot addition to this building. It would be 2 stories and located in an impervious part of the site. There's minimal trees. It's kind of all concrete asphalt area that we're proposing this addition. And so the offset of any trees that we would be disturbing would be replaced in kind. With the addition, we would also be doing a renovation for portions of the existing building. And then knowing that we have the Golden Triangle Station right at the corner, we have a pedestrian connection that we are planning to connect over there for staff to be able to use. Otherwise, a few of the sustainability features that we are planning to incorporate include EV charging stations, as well as low VOC materials, upgraded light fixtures, LED dimming controls, trying to be energy efficient with everything new that's going in to the building. So a couple slides here. This is the main entry. So this portion of the building is what you're seeing in the foreground is the existing building that would get a facelift to make that main entrance a little bit more prominent than what it is today. So, introducing some new materials, introducing more curtain wall, and really bringing that up up to the modern times here. And then in the background, you can see that addition. So this is coming around. This is the gap between the existing building and the new building. And then it also has a pedestrian link there to connect the two. Still flying around a bit. So this shows more of the proposed addition to the building. So 2 stories. Space, we have a bit of screen wall on the corner there to screen any of the mechanical rooftop equipment. And then the main materials being precast and curtain wall and a little bit of metal panel. And then flying around to the back side, this is along the light rail. So this is the existing precast building that we would be repainting in the branded colors. There are 4 waivers that we are requesting with this project. The first one being parking. Per the city code, with the use moving into the building, we have 748 parking stalls that are required. We are providing 669 parking stalls. So we are requesting a waiver of a deficit of 79 parking stalls. So with the traffic counts and the anticipated employee counts for this building, we feel that the 669 parking stalls will accommodate those employees. We're asking for a building height waiver. So maximum height in I-2 is 40 feet, and we are requesting 42 feet for the west facade only. We have a shoreland waiver. So the city code is 30% impervious surface area. The existing building is actually at 64.2%. We are improving that to 64.1%. So getting closer. And then materials, building materials. So I-2 has a 75% of a class 1 material, 25% of a class 2 material. With the existing conditions of the site, the condition of the office portion of the building is deteriorating, so we do need to reskin that entire building. And so we're proposing a more curtain wall and metal panel there. So the new facade, or the new addition, is precast and curtain wall, which are both class 1 materials. So it's really that existing condition that has the class 2 materials. But really it's the north facade is the one with the 56% class 1 and 44% class 2. And then you can see those elevations here for the north, east, south, and west. Thank you.
So is that the end of the proponent's presentation? Completely okay. Council, we can ask some questions now. We can have a public hearing and close it and continue. It's really up to what you'd like to do.
I do have questions, but I'm willing to do it either
Would
way.
it be of the proponent while she's here? Okay, let's go ahead then and get some of our questions out, and you can, again, re-ask them or hold some of them for later on if you'd like. So go ahead, Councilmember Nelson.
One question with your parking, is there any options for future parking if it becomes necessary, like people parking out on the street and such, which isn't acceptable?
Yes, so I believe as part of the development agreement, there will be language in place that if we are exceeding the parking and parking starts, happening on the street, that we will need to address it at that
So there's
time.
proof of parking actually on land, or would it require a deck or something?
We have not drafted up anything official, but there is room on site for proof of parking.
And would that pertain to the future when that area of the building that's currently not going to be inhabited, it gets filled?
Right, so when the development for that shelled space occurs, when we have a program in place and start developing that design, it is with our understanding that we will need to run it past the Planning Commission and City Council at that time to address the parking.
Councilmember Nelson, anything else?
Yeah, you talked about plants. I saw a few flowers on your pictures. Are those only going to be near the new part of the building? Or will you be adding flowers all the way along, especially on the light rail side?
That is a good question. So we are meeting the city code requirement of the number of plantings on the site. We have flowers and ornamental grasses for the entrance around the addition.
Yeah,
But the light rail side, I do not believe we were anticipating planting there.
would seem to be a place that would bring attention to your building by a lot of commuters. And potentially, it's good advertising for not a whole lot of money that I would encourage you to seriously consider. You don't have to be just an industrial building when you've got that kind of advertising potential with just some flowers and a sign for your building, and it would look nicer. Has there been any discussion of adding any solar?
The roof of the addition would be solar ready.
Okay.
So the structure and generator power capacity would be in place for that.
Okay. Well, that's the minimal we want.
Councilmember Freiberg, anything?
No.
I just have one more comment. I think it's great that you're revitalizing the building and not ripping it down and starting over. It's really good. Thank you.
And then Rick and Julie, just so I'm sure, because when I drove by, this is in the 90s, the old Best Buy building, correct? Okay.
That's correct.
So I'm very familiar then with several potential projects that came through in the 90s with Best Buy. One of them, they were wanting to fill wetlands, so I'm very familiar with the wetlands. So I'm assuming this project is not touching and in fact totally preserving that wetland.
We are staying as far away from the wetland as we can.
Thank you.
Yes.
That's wonderful. That was the big issue, 96 maybe, 97, with the Best Buy project at the time. Okay, maybe if you sit down, we'll call you back up if we have questions. Council, if it's all right with you, we'll go ahead and open up the public hearing. So residents, anyone in the audience wishing to address the council on this project, Aldevron, please come forward, give your name and address, and we'll be all ears. Okay, seeing none. Council, your pleasure here. You can just close the public hearing. Either way, we can have more conversation. So it really depends if you are ready to make the motion and have the discussion, or if you want to just close the public hearing and have conversation about this. You're fine? Okay, someone go ahead and make the motion, close the public hearing, and a motion to approve, and then if anybody else has questions or comments, we can continue to discuss.
I'll make a motion. I lost my, somebody else can do it. Oh, here we go. I'll make a motion to close the public hearing when we do the whole thing and adopt a resolution for a plan unit development concept plan on 23 acres and approve the first reading of an ordinance for a plan unit development district review with waivers on 23 acres and direct staff to prepare a development agreement incorporating staff and commission recommendations and council conditions.
So second.
Second.
So if you have something to say, I'll open up to conversation. I just want to say one thing that, and again, more educationally, I think, for anyone listening at home or in the audience, but waivers are meant to serve a purpose. Almost any project, especially commercial that comes in, usually has some type of a waiver that's needed, and waivers typically help the city get what we want for the entire project as we grant waivers to also make the project itself successful. So each of these waivers are very acceptable to me, and in my mind make the project successful. So I'll just throw that out. If anybody else wants to add anything before we take the vote, this is your chance.
No, it looks like it's going to be a good business and that they've made some good plans. They might, over time, add a little more to it, I think they might find to their own advantage. And I'm willing to see this go through and glad that we're going to have something that's going to be a good business and
Great.
bring in more jobs. So
I don't know that I knew this, and so I'm not sure if all of you do, but Eden Prairie is becoming quite a medical tech cluster hub. And we learned that Rick and I had, with Dave Lundahl, a meet and greet this last week with a med tech company. And we learned at the time, I think there were 18 different med tech companies already in Eden Prairie. And this company we met with, they're very interested in pursuing that and really highlighting and marketing the way several other cities in the Twin Cities are doing similarly. But we have quite a powerhouse of med tech, and Aldebaran really adds tremendously to that equation. So I'm really excited for Eden Prairie and just the concept of becoming, known possibly in the world. If you think about some of the clusters right now, Israel has a med tech cluster. Costa Rica has a med tech cluster. I mean, the fact that Minnesota as well, obviously with Mayo Clinic, but Eden Prairie has med tech with 18, now I believe this is 19, and several other companies on the horizon. We have this incredible potential to become known really across the world as a med tech area. And Pat Malquini, the director of the Chamber of Commerce, was at this meeting as well with us this last week, and he's obviously super excited about this potential as well. So Aldebaran, we're very excited to have you here. So we need to take a vote. Are we ready? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed. All right. Welcome. Congratulations. We're excited to have you here. Mr. Getcho, the next public hearing, Dell Road Street and Utility Improvements.
Thank you, Mayor and Council members. Our second and last public hearing is Dell Road Street and Utility Improvements, as you mentioned. Council may recognize this from last spring. We devoted a workshop to the council getting an overview on a major road improvement project, and then following that, you authorized a feasibility study to take place. And then that feasibility study came back just this past November. So we are now here following some discussion, the finalization of a feasibility report, some neighborhood discussions, some neighborhood meetings to bring forth for you the possibility that we move forward with this street and utility improvement project, that we prepare plans and specs and go out to bid at a later date. Our city engineer, Carter Schulze, is here to walk you through the entire project. And due to the fact that we have assessments related to the project and a feasibility study, we do need to hold a public hearing on the project following Carter's presentation.
Thank you. Welcome.
Hi, thank you, Mayor and Council. Again, Carter Schulze, City Engineer. I do have a presentation where I will walk through the feasibility report and answer some questions about the project itself. So just getting started here. A little bit on the background. So the engineering, the city of Eden Prairie has been working on this project since probably before 2006, but I can look back on files that see where we started neighborhood meetings looking at alignments of where Dell Road could go, and they reached back to 2006. Multiple neighborhood meetings, multiple design iterations leading to this feasibility study where we've landed on a feasible road project and utility improvement through this corridor. It is and has been on the city's capital improvement plan for years as well. It's one of those that's kind of been there, kind of been just off the distance a little bit and keeps kind of moving backwards a little bit or staying where it was as far as in the CIP. Like I mentioned, several alignments have been reviewed over the years and really landed on where we are today through all of that process. Some other major achievements have happened that were parts of this Dell Road design, including the Eden Prairie Road construction, which many of you probably remember, both the north piece that was really development driven and then the southern piece, which was really making that connection down to Flying Cloud Drive, as well as the more recent Flying Cloud Drive improvements that happened a couple of years ago. Both of those were critical in the Dell Road project. Not only did Eden Prairie Road make a safer connection to Flying Cloud Drive up the hill and provide some access to those folks over there and as well as Dell Road residents, but also the Flying Cloud Drive improvements that was driven by the county actually raised that intersection with Dell Road up about 5 feet, which aided in our design of how we land Dell Road down to Flying Cloud Drive. If you can recall, Eden Prairie Road took a big swing around the corner to get down to Flying Cloud Drive. We're able to avoid that with Dell Road because the county raised that intersection up. So those are critical in this path towards getting to complete the Dell Road improvements. As Manager Getchow mentioned, the council authorized feasibility report in March of 2022, and the council received the feasibility report in November of 23. So just an area, improvement and assessment area. So this is the Dell Road section we're talking about. So it's the last southern piece of Dell Road between Crestwood Terrace down to Flying Cloud Drive or County Road 61. Couple of areas to point out and commonly referred to areas that I'll probably mention or will get brought up throughout this presentation. I just want to point out, so the Marshall Farm is a common one that people talk about within this project description, as well as some other ones that may not be super common, but we will talk about them as those are the Meadowcroft and the Doyle Edition. Those are a couple of developments that happened down in the southwest area, south of Dell Road. Turnbull is this roadway, although it's technically not a road, but it's known as Turnbull Road across here that leads off of Dell Road. And then, of course, Dell Road itself, which does have some properties that have addresses or driveways off of it. I will note that all the addresses off of Turnbull are actually addressed off of Dell Road. Just to give a little more context of what we're talking about here with this project, these are a couple of pictures taken this winter, actually. There's no snow, but they were taken this winter, kind of showing what the situation looks like along Dell Road if people aren't familiar. So we've got a lot of wooded areas, narrow gravel section, steep slopes on both sides, which led to us, obviously the importance of this project is pretty obvious. As far as the feasibility report itself, I just wanted to highlight a few of these sections that are noted here. It was completed in November of 23. The costs and analysis were done and aided the city with our consulting firm, WSB. and they provided some follow-up and backup information that we used in the report. So I'll walk through some street and trail information, the storm drainage, sanitary sewer and water pieces, and then of course the cost summary. So with the street and trail, the proposal is to put a 32-foot roadway, which is our standard collector section. It's the same as what was done at Eden Prairie Road, and this is really the same exact cross-section of what is on Eden Prairie Road now and is on Dell Road, as you can see. This is just up the hill, so the improved section of Dell Road, just before it turns into gravel, right before the park there, that's off in the distance. So we've got the trail, 8-foot trail section on the side, as well as the 32-foot road section that's shown there. Of course, retaining walls will be a part of this project. A couple examples are shown here in the picture. The one on Eden Prairie Road is the block wall that has the railing on it on the left, and then some of the different style walls are on County Road 61. We're envisioning, we'd like to stick with one type of wall, but depending on the construction methods, we may have different types of walls, even different than this potentially, just to essentially save some construction limits that try to keep the project within its limits as best as we can. So that's the value of the walls, but just to construct the walls, it is a challenge as well. So, and we're estimating just from a cost standpoint about $2 million in retaining walls along this corridor, which probably 50% or more of the corridor will have a wall on one side or the other. From an existing standpoint, existing utility standpoint, both the public and private utilities are very sparse in this area. As you can see by this picture, it's a little hard to tell, but existing sanitary sewer is highlighted in green. We've got a stretch of sanitary sewer that comes down Dell Road and stops right by the farm property there. We've got some sanitary sewer that's off to the west down by the Meadowcroft area, and then a couple of more recent installations of sanitary sewer over in the Reeder Ridge neighborhood. Similarly, the water main utility is in the same spot as well. And then there's really no storm sewer except for a small piece next to the creek that runs through the project as well. So one piece that one of the goals of the project in terms of a water main, you can see it kind of stubbing down from Crestwood Terrace and then coming across where this the Meadowcroft area is there's a gap here. If you look at a bigger picture of this area from a water main standpoint, that gap actually creates a big dead end for this area right here. So one of the bigger benefits of this project will be to tie those two together and then extend water main down to this Turnbull intersection with hydrants through that area. So from a proposed standpoint, looking at storm drainage first, I know this is a little bit tricky of a graphic to pay attention to, but I wanted to highlight a few things. Obviously with a new paved road section and trail on the one side, we've got to catch that water that right now just runs off the road, carries that gravel down into the ditches, into the creek, creates some erosion. So with the new roadway installation, we build some storm sewer up, catch that water, treat it, and then send it into the creek. So much better from an erosion control standpoint. A big piece of this project would be replacing that culvert that's under the Dell Road. This would be the city culvert replacement that's right in the middle. That would probably close the road during construction, and then we'd replace that on the bottom there. As you can see, this Riley Creek runs through here. That's the public culvert, city culvert. And then an item of note is this driveway for the Meadowcroft residents through here. Actually, it crosses another culvert that's privately owned. And as of this morning, that neighborhood has signed a petition that asks for that culvert to be replaced with the city project. You maybe have noted from the feasibility study that we did analyze that and include that, some discussion on that in the project, in the report itself. And now with the petition asking for that to be folded into the project, we can work through that process to get that included as well. So, sanitary and water, here's a little, a large picture all the way across to those existing utilities that are on the east side. I want to just highlight the highlighted piece, that kind of shape over there is all future work. That was part of our analysis of trying to figure out the puzzle of how do we serve folks in the future with sewer and water. So the piece kind of along Dell Road here with water main and sanitary sewer is really what this Dell Road Improvements is proposing. From a water main standpoint, I mentioned we'd run the water main down, connect to the Meadowcroft piece that comes out from their neighborhood, and then run it down to the intersection of Turnbull. From a sanitary standpoint, it's a little trickier. We had a couple of iterations. We worked through whether we do force main through this whole area, or actually the preferred option through the analysis was to run a gravity section from the Turnbull intersection down to a lift station that we would land down by the creek crossing. And then we would that would get pumped up to the nearest manhole that's just south of Crestwood Terrace. So from a feasibility standpoint, this shows the most equitable option to have future development, both along Dell Road as well as Turnbull in the future, to get served by that sanitary service that would be there. So it's a little more cost up front from the city standpoint, and a little more long-term maintenance to own and maintain a lift station there, but it's no different than the lift station we added down on Eden Prairie Road that served both Lions Tap and some of those neighbors as well. So similar situation there. So from a project cost standpoint, you can see the table here. This is the table right out of the feasibility study. Total project costs for the street are in the range of $5.6 million. Storm sewer and drainage, $1 million, and sewer and water is about 1.7. A large portion of that is that lift station and some of the force main that goes along with that, for a total of $8.3 million. So then I broke it out into city costs and then also project assessment costs. So you'll notice there's no assessment cost for storm drainage or sewer and water. Sewer and water potential extra costs for a resident would be connection costs at the time of connection. So we're not proposing that at this point to assess that right now, because we would likely they would be connected when that's installed. The 1.2 million of assessment costs that's shown on the bottom, those are really for street and trail. So we were diligent in trying to figure out what piece of this road is most used and most beneficial to the residents there. And it's really that street and trail piece where the gravel used to be, or where the gravel is today. Wanted to provide the preliminary assessment roll, which also highlights that total assessment cost, the 1.2 million. Broke out. So the street and trail was based on a unit cost, and so you can see a majority of these are single units. The farm has a multiple unit account there. These were based off of either potential development that was either provided for us, so we based that off of a graphic that showed a 52 unit property or development on the Marshall farm. We also looked at other neighbors and developments that have happened in this area based on front footage and other geographic examples like that. That's where we came up with those potential units. So you see some twos, some threes. Those are either undeveloped properties that could be split in half that would match kind of front footage along either Turnbull or Dell Road. So you'll also see the different units or the different costs for that street. So you see a single unit at $9,800. You also see a single unit at $16,300. The $9,800 is from previous development agreements. So LaDoyle and Meadowcroft agreements had, back from 2003 and 2005, had Dell Road improvements attributed to those developments. So those are back from that point. So if you actually prorate that dollar amount up to $2023, it rounds out to about the $16,000 that we used for the street assessment today in today's dollars. So that's where those two numbers kind of come from. Their previous developments where we wanted to be equitable to all of those units across there. Here's just a graphical showing of which those properties are assessed for or what amounts. So you start to see the development potential, the farm with the 52 units there, the Turnbull properties that are, some of those right next to Dell have already been split. And so those distances and spaces along Turnbull were kind of prorated across to where you see the twos and threes, where those properties could also be split into 2s and 3s and then developed across there. So, and again, a homesteaded property that has development potential would get a 1-unit assessed to it, and those additional development units would be deferred. So at the time, until time of development. So they're shown in this assessment role, but they're most likely going to be deferred through there. So that's the walkthrough of the study. So the requested action or next steps would be to adopt the resolution ordering the improvements for Dell Road. We've got a design consultant, WSB, that helped us with that. We would move forward with an agreement for final plans and specs with them that you would see and approve at a future council meeting, with the hopes that by fall of this year or early spring of 25, we would bid this project, start construction in the spring, finish construction or substantial completion by the fall of 25, with then wrap up anything needed in the summer of 26 with final completion, with a fall final assessment hearing in 2026, and residents would see that assessment show up on a spring of 2027 tax statement. With that, I know it was a lot of information, but I can stand for questions if you have any.
So council, this will be open up to the public hearing. And again, just like the last public hearing, we can do some comments and questions now and then, or preserve that for later, or do both. Do you want to ask some questions now? Especially if it's educational for people.
I've got one question.
Okay,
I
Councilmember
want cleared
Nelson.
up. Does this go all the way down so it takes up all of the dirt or gravel road, or is there still a segment of it south of there?
Mayor and council, there would be no more gravel road along this section.
That wasn't quite clear, and I've got a big note of, if not, why? It does seem to be getting to be the time to not have a gravel road through that section of Eden Prairie anymore.
Councilmember Freiberg, anything?
No.
Councilmember Toomey?
Yeah, first, I agree with Councilmember Nelson. We need to take care of that gravel road. But my question's more for the city manager. How long will it be before the assessment shows up?
Yeah, and I think Carter had that in his last slide. It would be in the spring of 2027.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, so about 3 years from now.
okay.
Yeah.
And then I have a question about the culvert project. Will the residents be assessed for that work that's going to be done?
Council and Mayor and council, yes, that would be, so with the petition that they signed, those costs of that private culvert replacement would get 100% assessed to those residents. I believe there was 5 parcels included with that development. And so the actual construction costs that come out of the project would get divided by 5 and assessed. So we would likely have to revise if it gets wrapped into this feasibility study, we would revise that assessment roll, show a separate column there with the feasible cost, and then when the project's all done, we would take the actual costs and divide that up and assess that to those residents. Yep.
Thank you.
I do have one more.
So Carter, just so I understand, currently all the residents along Turnbull have septic and well. None of them are in sanitary system, sewer, and
That's correct.
city water. Wow. Okay. So unless one is really thrilled with septic and well, this is a tremendous advantage improvement, certainly for resale. And then just a quick question. It looked like the baseline assessment before some of the subtractions was 16.3, I think. So just curious that as other cities do projects like this, that resulted in about a 14% of the cost. I don't know if that's always going to be consistent like that to do the connection between what the assessment dollar value is and what the percentage of the project, but does that sound pretty typical across the Twin Cities? I know that we all do it differently. I know that we have a franchise fee system now that pays for the second time replacement part. We do all that. But the 14% in all the projects you've worked on, is that fairly reasonable that residents would carry about 14% of a project?
Mayor and council, I think that's extremely reasonable, to be honest with you. We did pare that down. We tried to match what was previously written into those developers agreements as Dell Road improvement costs. In other projects I've done, we would include some storm sewer with that. Eden Prairie Road included storm sewer with their assessment as well. So it's a pretty good deal is what I would say.
Okay. And I wanted to add one thought to this as well. There are those people, maybe that don't live along there, maybe that do, but people across the city that have loved and appreciated the ambiance of driving down a historic gravel road in Eden Prairie and wishing to keep that one last remnant. I get that. I envision, though, it would be easier for us to think about that if it was on a flat area of our city, going through a flat area of woods, and it wasn't heavily traveled. This one, as you mentioned, and if you've driven down, and all the people in the audience have a lot, have steep, what am I trying to say, hillsides going off on either side with erosion, and we've got the creek. I mean, we spend so much of our time and effort in the city with the three creeks that we have in our river and our, 17, 18 lakes, trying to preserve water quality. This is a major negative impact on creek, and so we are solving a tremendous, huge environmental, ecological issue as well. All right, why don't we go ahead and open up the public hearing?
I've got one.
Sure.
Maybe it'll answer a question. Will the people that have their own sewer and water have to connect?
Mayor and Councilmember, no, that's the reason we're not adding that in. We're building the infrastructure for them to connect to. When they want to, they can connect when they want to. So and at that point, they'll pay a connection fee.
Oh, some of them will want to connect instantly for the convenience, and others will say, well, when my septic tank gets to the point where it has to be done, then I'll do it. Type thing.
And we've been more aggressive along that line when we've done these kinds of projects around some of our lakes, like we had at Bryant Lake. I think we were much more aggressive in mandatory connections. All right, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience wishing to address the City Council on this Dell Road Street and Utility Improvement Project this evening? Please come forward, give your name and address. You came to listen. That's very impressive. Thank you for being here. Did we get all your questions answered? That's positive as well, I believe. All right. One more chance? Yes, please, come forward. I was just going to go ahead and entertain a motion to close the public hearings. I'm glad you caught me. Name and address? Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor Case and council members. Carter, thank you for all your hard work. I met you about 6 months ago and we had a discussion. I'm relatively newer to Eden Prairie. I live at 9997 Dell Road. And I just have 3 simple questions that maybe could be addressed or answered, and maybe others have the same questions. They may agree or may not agree with me. Forgive me. I'm here to learn, to understand, and support the community the best I can. Number 1, that dirt road, while it is beautiful, and sometimes it's nice to drive, it is dangerous at certain times of the year, especially with small children. I currently have 2 children enrolled in Eden Prairie Public Schools. None of the buses can get to our house, so I have to drive every morning to the bus stop and every afternoon. It's a pleasure to spend more time with my daughter during those times, and I truly enjoy it. However, we pay a lot of taxes, as you can see by the assessment, and I would like to take advantage of the busing. Will this improvement offer my address and those addresses on Turnbull service such as school bus? That's my first question.
Do you want to answer, Carter? Do you want to answer it right now?
And if you can't answer today, that's fine. I just want it to be made.
Do you live on Turnbull?
I live at 9997 Dell Road. If you pull the map up, you'll see clearly.
Just on Turnbull, yeah.
Yeah, it's the 4th property.
I guess my point, would a bus have to turn down Turnbull to access your house, and therefore can it turn around on Turnbull?
I had a very nice discussion. I believe his name was John over at Transportation. And the problem was they could get the bus to that intersection where the mailboxes are at Turnbull and Dell Road, but they couldn't get the bus to turn around.
Once it turned onto Turnbull, it could not turn around.
You can't even turn on Turnbull. So if I had my daughter just
Okay.
walk from the house to the end of the
understand.
street by the mailboxes, he could pick her up, but then he would have to go all the way down and then
Yes.
come back around, back up Eden Prairie Road. So again, forgive me for taking time for those who don't have
That's a good
children.
question that has longer term implications, so that I would love, if we can't get the answer tonight, let's get it from the school district and talk about that.
I have a 3-year-old and a 13-year-old, so I'm in it for the long haul. So I'd love that addressed. Number 2, the Turnbull Road, you said, is a private road. Myself and my neighbors who are more generous and capable than I shovel that every winter. And we clean that road every winter, and some of us have heavy machinery and others don't. With this upgrade, will that street now become part of Eden Prairie's service of road, of cleaning snow and managing potholes and things of
Carter,
that
you can answer
nature?
that right now, right?
Is that part of this program?
Dell Road will, of course. Turnbull,
course.
nothing's changing on Turnbull as far
Okay.
as it's, the right-of-way challenges and the road width and things like that. It's not a,
So
it's not
it
a standard
remains a
right-of-way.
private road.
Essentially. I
Yeah.
mean, there's public right-of-way there, but there's not a consistent public right-of-way that we can build a standard city street on and a standard turnaround.
So if we were to do that someday, no one panic in the audience, I'm questioning. If we were to do that someday, build a public road, we would have to, I don't know what the official word is, but take land, and we would have to get right of way to make it a city street width, and then cul-de-sac with a ball at the end of it so a bus could turn around. And that's probably out long after I'm long gone if you all came and wanted that kind of solution.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah, no, again, I was just curious if that was
Sure.
part of this, because that would create a lot more traffic, which maybe we don't want. We like the privacy there. And lastly, very simple and easy, the assessments, payments, would that be spread over time? Would it be a one-time payment in spring '27, or would you be able to spread that out through a couple of years, 4 or 5 years? I'm not quite sure how that works. It's a large sum of money, and I just want to be able to prepare and plan. Thank you for your time.
So real quick on the assessments, actually, it's a combination of all. You could pay off the entire thing in advance, and there'd be no interest. But if it's placed on a property tax bill over time, typically 5, 10 years, I'm not sure what's in the feasibility report, there'd be an interest rate associated with that, but it would be over time, and it would appear on your tax statement along with the other taxes that you pay. So yes, it can be spread out.
Okay, I appreciate all your hard work. It's a pleasure. Thank you for your time.
Just so we can make sure we got you, did you give your name, or would you mind giving it?
Yes, my name is, in the documentation, my name is Hussam Kamshay
Great.
at 9997 Dell Road. Thank you.
Thank you for your questions. I appreciate you being here. I know that there was a time back, Kathy, you and I were on the council, when we were looking at all the Eden Prairie Road options. And if you all remember, we were looking at Turnbull possibly being acquired by the city as a formal road and punching through on the east side all the way into Beverly Drive, I think, and connecting as a way to, in fact, that was back in the day when we were looking at that bridge. Did we build the bridge over the creek? Someone help me with the name of
Prospect Road.
Prospect Road.
Prospect Road. Yeah.
We were looking at all the different alternatives, and one of them was to make Turnbull the road, right, that people utilize. And at that point, we were even looking at, do we cul-de-sac off Dell on the north side of the creek and the south side of the creek and get rid of the bridge? I mean, these were all alternatives that were just being floated out there. Turnbull became a real critical component to that whole mix, depending on which path we chose. And clearly you see the path that was chosen through time. I think the people on Turnbull likely are happy, it sounds like, from what our last speaker just mentioned. Anyway, just through time, a lot of these things evolve, right, over time as city councils and city staff try to make decisions for what the best outcomes are for current residents, and thinking ahead, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 50 years when we're gone, how we make the city function the best that we can. And anyway, there were a lot of iterations to arrive at this point this evening. Anybody else to address the council tonight on this? Please come forward. Name and address.
I'm Denise Boysen. I live on Libby Lane, which is near the intersection of Dell and Pioneer Trail. So we would love to use Dell Road as our access to Shakopee, but we consider that stretch of road really treacherous. So one of the things I didn't hear in the presentation tonight was about the traffic issue. Are the sightlines really going to be any better on that road once it's finished? And what are the speed limits going to be? There are people right now that seem to be willing to take some significant chances on that road. And I'm curious if that's only going to be aggravated by having a better road. Yeah, so those are my questions.
Thank you. Carter?
Mayor and Council, this current road is about 20 feet wide of gravel, and there's trees right along it. And so she has a point. There are bad sight lines. When you come up around the hill to Turnbull Road, you can't see. I think there's even a mirror out there that helps people see around the corner. With the plan for the roadway, with its horizontal alignment and vertical alignment, we have to meet state aid standards, and I think I've brought this up to the neighbors as well, which has a big funding component. And with those standards, meet horizontal curves, vertical curve requirements, and they will be different than what's out there today, and they will improve those sight lines. The speed limit will be 30 miles an hour, and that's what this road will be built to accommodate a 30-mile-an-hour turn and through the corners, and as well as vertically.
Great. And just for comparison, Eden Prairie Road and I believe Spring Road is also signed at 30. People, is it 35?
Spring's 40, I believe.
I was going to say they don't drive 30 if it is 30.
Eden Prairie Road is 30.
Eden Prairie Road is
It's a
30.
city road.
Spring Road is 40, okay. Good question, though, thank you. Is there anyone else to address the council this evening? All right, council, go ahead and if you want, you can simply close the public hearing. If you're ready to go ahead and make the motion adopting the resolution ordering improvements, go ahead and do that. We can still have future discussion here in the next few moments, so whatever your pleasure is.
I'll move to close the public hearing and adopt a resolution ordering improvements and preparation of plans and specifications for Dell Road street and utility improvements.
Is there a second?
Second.
I just want to thank the public that came in tonight who have vested and emotional interests in this. We appreciate you being here, and thank people that came forward to speak as well. It helps us as council to hear from you, but you know also, you feel free to contact any of us anytime. People do. Our numbers are accessible and available. Please do reach out. Continue to if you have further questions that come to you after this evening's meeting as well. With that, are we ready to vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed. All right. Thank you, Carter. Nice job. I heard somebody I was chatting with about our Public Works Department streets knew you from Carter, from your Pat. Carter, you're listening to this? It's a compliment. And they were praising you all over the place. And I said, yes, we get the best staff here at Eden Prairie. So lots of positives on you from a conversation with people from another city a while back. All right, payment of claims. It's kind of like our list of checks cut or expenditures. Is anybody have any payment of claims items to question or you want to learn more about? If not, is there a motion for approval of payment of claims?
I'll move for approval of payment of claims as submitted.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Freiberg.
Aye.
Councilmember Nelson.
Aye.
Councilmember Toomey.
Aye.
Mayor Case.
Aye. Mr. Gatcho and council, anything else to come before the council this evening?
Mayor, there is not.
With that, is there a motion to adjourn? We'll never get out of here if one of you won't make this motion.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This meeting is